Hey everyone, I'm Rick and thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to share a thrift store find. About every 2 months or so, I set a day aside to search for old speakers that might be able to be refurbished and saved. And then I asked my friends and family if they'd like the speakers at my cost. I wish I could just gift them, but unfortunately I'm not in that position. On that note, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking my videos to help this channel grow. Your support brought in $109 via YouTube ads and $64 via Amazon for the month of December, so thank you again. And back to the find. I think I came up on this one for a great deal. I found this CD player at a local secondhand store for $15. And this is a Marantz CD67SE. So this is the special edition, which has a little bit firmer chassis than the standard version. And this one's dated back to 1997. Now it does have some problems, so let me show you what we got. We have power. So if we turn this off, hold the stop and play, turn back on, and release, we get an error 02. So that is going to be the laser drive. Now the unit does open, super smooth, and it wasn't opening when I got it, but I did open this unit up before, and I went ahead and cleaned the spindle that opens and closes the drive. However, the laser module is still bad. So let's open this up and let's take a look on the inside. Here you can tell that it's a special edition because you have this top plate right here that adds stability, and the bottom plate is quite a bit heavier than the standard version. So this makes the CD drive a little more stable. And after I change the laser unit, I'm going to go ahead and also fill in with Dynamat all the way across to stop some resonances in the case. I'm only going to use this CD player as a transport, so I'm not worried about the DAC itself. But the DAC is kind of wild here, 97, and you have this little clock oscillator over here. The SE version also uses the Alna capacitors, and I want to say the KI versions are differentiated a little bit by a toroidal transformer. So let's get into replacing this unit. And we'll open it all the way. Now we can power down and disconnect. And speaking of disconnect, I think I'm also going to replace this two-prong cable with a IEC inlet that has plus, minus, and ground, so I can ground it down to the chassis in case anything ever goes bad. And I'll also be able at that point to use any of my better power cables. So first thing, we'll want to remove this tray, and I'll just use a wooden skewer to push across here and pull this straight out. Then I'll use my favorite little giveaway driver, the one that came with my Be Quiet cooler. And we have 3 screws to undo here. One thing I love about this driver is that it's a magnetic tip. We have a second screw here. Now these are just copper colored, but they're not copper. They are magnetic. They're just that Marantz accent color. They do look cool. A third screw here. Now we have a few connectors to pull out. This one here, wiggle from the side, lift it out of the way. This one down here, wiggle out of the way. And this ribbon cable. Now what you want to do is you can lift the edges here, and that releases the pressure on the cable itself. As you can see, it goes in and out to lock. That's what we'll do when we lock it. But when you lift up, it releases pressure on your ribbon. Now we can pull this drive unit out. And this is what we want to replace down here. And this is the new drive unit that I received from Amazon for $15. Yeah, should work perfectly. And I'm going to replace this unit off camera, but I'll link you to a video from Sonic Salvage from about 8 months ago where he actually breaks this down. So I want to give credit to him because that's how I figured out how to change this unit. And just like that, the bad unit is out and the new unit is mounted in. Time to move this guy back over here. Remember, check out Sonic Salvages video on how to do this. He was an awesome resource. Thank you, my friend. So for now, I'll plug this unit up for testing, but I will come back another day to fill this up with Dynamat. . So slide in and then squeeze down. And finally the power to the drive. So again, old school PWM DAC. I wouldn't expect very much from this DAC currently because the capacitors are probably fairly old and that might change something in the sound characteristics. Now the resistors will probably last forever, but the capacitors do not. So let's replace the tray. It's in place. Unit has power. We'll open the drive. Find yourself a disc from the era. This is Lazy Dog Volume 1 Deep House Mix from around 2001. And it instantly recognizes the disc. Awesome. Now we'll plug it into some audio and test the DAC. So how did it sound? Before I give you my impression, I think it's important to note that how I hear this CD player today might not be how it sounded back in 1997, since its components have aged quite a bit. Well, I wasn't expecting what I heard. What I was expecting was a sound closer to something that you might hear in an older inexpensive DVD player with bitstream audio, dimensionally flat, with lack of dynamics, and congestion in the vocals, compared to the SMSL SE1 that I had connected to the CD player via Toslink. And that couldn't be further from my experience. Frankly, the sound from the 67SE's analog output blew me away. I did all my listening with the sources coming out of either the 67SE or the SMSL SE1, going into my preamp, the Jongsun JA1, and from there over to a Class AB Iota VX PA3 power amp. The sound of the 67SE via its analog out sounded warm and full with a wonderfully holographic soundstage, while not very wide, was deep and tall. The sound is kind of in a large sphere between my speakers, and it hits my ears very reminiscent of a sound that you'd get from a tube amplifier. Everything has that warm tube glow, a very romantic sound. Having said that, I don't think that I'd pair the 67SE's analog outs with a tube amplifier, more so a solid state. Now the 67SE Toslink out over to an SE1 in contrast, has more precise but leaner bass, better instrument separation, and while a wider soundstage, nowhere as deep or as tall. The SE1 also has a darker background, and is generally clearer and more detailed. Now the highs on this 67SE DAC are slightly crunchy, but not harsh. And honestly, I can overlook that because the sound is so enveloping. I have a sound comparison video with sound demos posted as well. A great thing about this Marantz CD player is that it does have those digital outs, one Toslink and one coaxial. And that gives you the flexibility to match your listening to your mood. But I will tell you, I don't think that I would have bothered with this CD player if it didn't have those digital outs. Because at almost 30 years old, anything can go bad at any time. You can also do all kinds of mods to this model. You can change the op amps, bypass the output buffer, or upgrade its clock. And I've seen a few forums of people doing these tweaks a while back. But my opinion is that back in 2007, this might have been a good option, but not so much now on an almost 30-year-old device. I personally wouldn't invest more than a couple $100s on this CD player, and that would be mostly for fun, just to see what happens. I feel that my money would be better spent upgrading a DAC and leaving this unit just as a transport. But all in all, I had a wonderful experience with the Marantz 67SE, and for $30, no regrets at all. And that's all I have for this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.